Hello everyone and welcome back to another tech tutorial. I'm Chad Bryant, your Tech Tosa with the Mosta, and in today's tutorial we're going to be looking at a really useful feature in GSuite called version history. Let's take a look at today's agenda. First of all, we're going to look at what exactly is version history, and then following that I'll show some use cases of when you might find it useful to use it in your classroom. So what exactly is version history? We all remember using Microsoft Office and Word and having to go to the File menu and save our documents to make sure our changes aren't lost. Well, one of the great features about GSuite is that all of our changes are tracked over time and are saved. But what can you do with all of those tracked changes? That's where version history comes in. Version history allows you to see exactly what changes were made, see when the changes were made, and see exactly who made those changes. So let's jump into a document real quick. I've got here my digital citizenship scope and sequence that I built this year. And if I scroll through the document, you can see that it's got quite a lot of content on it. Up at the top of the document, there is a little text notification, and in fact, it's a link. It says last edit was made 2 hours ago by Chad Bryant. So if I click this, that's actually one way of getting into the version history. You can see now over on the right-hand side, I have a list, relatively long, detailing who exactly made changes to this document and when. So if, for example, I go back to the beginning of time of this particular document on September 14th, if I click it, it's going to show me on the left side here that the document was empty, was blank at that point. If instead I jump forward in time, I can see that content has started to be added, and I can see by putting my mouse over the different sections that it was me who added that content. If I go up to some of the other stakeholders that this particular document has been shared with, I can see that additional users are making changes to it at different points in time, and each user has a particular color that is associated with them. So if I jump up to this one, I can scroll through my document and see that content was added here by this particular user at this point in time. There's also, you'll notice, an arrow next to that. If a bunch of changes were made in a relatively short period of time, you can see that it's subdivided here, but the main ones here track major changes to the document. One additional thing you can do with version history is it will allow you to revert a document back to any period in time that it has saved in its version history. So if, for example, I wanted to revert it back to my May 17th version, I could click on Restore this version up at the top, and it will go back to the version at that point. I'm going to hit the back arrow and go back to my main document. So let's think about some use cases here. The first one is probably the most common and the most useful to you as a teacher. And I call this one the useless undo. So you may have experienced, or your students have probably experienced, working on a document and trying to undo a change that they've made to it by clicking the undo button or by going to edit, undo, and it just doesn't do anything. It's not reverting back, it's not making changes, it's not undoing what they did. So in this case, what they could do is go into, again, File, Version History, see version history, that's another way of getting in, or click on that same link at the top, and they could pull up the desired version with the changes that they wanted and again restore this version. So that's kind of one use case here. A second use case though is the misusing student. So this would be a use case where a student comes up to you and says, oh, student so-and-so wrote this inappropriate word in the document, and then by the time you get over there, they've deleted that comment. Well, what you can do is leverage that version history. You can see at what moment that comment was written, or that potential comment was written. You can click on it, do that mouse over, and see exactly what they typed and when, tracked by that individual user. So you've got a little bit more accountability there. Finally, the syllabus superhero. So this is for more power users who want to track version histories. I could, if I wanted to, go into this document and let's say on May 23rd, this was a finalized version of the document. I can click on my little snowman menu here and choose name this version, and let's call this version 1.0. That's going to allow me to know that this was a finalized version. It was distributed to staff or stakeholders, and it's good to go. Then any subsequent changes, I could say up here, okay, I've made some revisions, major revisions that I want to redistribute the document. I could then rename this one version 2.0. Okay, and that kind of gives you some power to track changes again over time and name your different versions. All right. Well, that's it for today. I hope this was useful. As always, let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and happy apping.